Accidentally boarding a mafia boss's car, this waitress discovered an incredible love that changes everything. As the last rays of sunlight dipped below the Chicago skyline, casting long shadows on the cracked pavement, Clara wiped down the countertop at the diner, her hands rough with the day's work. At 26, she was no stranger to grit and resilience, juggling late shifts with caring for her ailing father, a proud Vietnam veteran whose past haunted him like a ghost. Every click of the clock felt heavy, the echoing tick-tock reminding her of her dreams slipping away. The sense of coffee and greasy burgers mixed with her worries, creating a blend of comfort and desperation. Then, in the bustle of the late-night crowd, everything changed. She swung open the door to what she thought was her father's old beat-up car, the familiar ghost of its worn seats welcoming her. But as she slid in, reality hit. A man in a crisp black suit turned towards her, his eyes a burning coal of intrigue. Clara's heart dropped. "Who are you?" she sputtered, back pressed against the cool leather. Panic seeped into her, until she recognized him as Vincent, the notorious Mafia boss whose name was whispered in dark corners. The sirens shrieked outside, cutting through the cramped silence like a warning bell. Clara's gut told her to leap out, but something deeper caught her, the vulnerability hiding behind Vincent's hardened gaze. "I just needed to escape," he admitted, driving through the city's veins, lights flickering like stars in the urban night. There was a sadness in his voice, a longing for more than the life he led. Their shared pain connected them in some unexplainable way, mirroring her own struggles. Before she could digest the reality of her situation, she blurted out, "I can't be here." The weight of her father's illness and the silent battles both were fighting hung heavy, yet the world outside was pulling them together in this whirlwind of chaos. And just like that, their adventure spiraled into danger when her father was accused of a crime linked to Vincent's dark past. At the diner, the familiar smell of fries brought back memories of laughter and family dinners, now stained with betrayal. Clara's heart raced. Should she stand by her father, defend her family's honor? Or could there be a sliver of hope, a chance for love and redemption coiling around the corners of this unexplainable nexus of their lives? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. With the stakes raised, Clara tightened her grip on the dashboard, feeling the tension crackle in the air. Vincent turned towards her, his face illuminated by the passing streetlights, the lines of his life etched deep across his brow. "I'll help you," he promised. In that moment, she sensed the shift. He, too, was fighting a battle against a corrupt system that had plagued not just him, but her family as well. The diner, once a refuge, transformed into a battleground of loyalties. Clara must navigate a labyrinth of family ties and the possibility of something beautiful taking root in the most unlikely soil. The sirens echoed, weaving in and out of their conversation, wrapping around their fates. As they drove on through the night, a sudden silence enveloped them, leaving Clara wrestling with questions that could change everything. Will she dare to step into a world laced with shadows, or will she cling to the warmth of her father's love, fighting against all odds for truth and justice? The city blurred past as Vincent drove with a purpose that Clara couldn't decipher. The intensity of the moment pressed on her chest, and she felt both terrified and strangely safe. It was as if the wind rushing in through the open window carried away the weight of her father's illness, the bills piling up, and the burdens of each day. "Where are we going?" Clara asked, breaking the uneasy silence. "To a place where we can talk without ears listening," he replied, his voice steady yet tinged with urgency. She nodded, though apprehension twisted in her gut. Would this lead her deeper into the darkness that seemed to cling to him, or was there an escape waiting on the other side? They turned down an alley, the shadows growing thicker and the sounds of the city fading into a muffled hum. Clara stole glances at Vincent, his chiseled features caught in moments of light and darkness as they passed under sporadic street lamps. Beneath the rugged exterior lay a man who seemed like a universe of emotions, grief, anger, and a flicker of hope. It was unsettling. "Clara," he said softly, as they parked next to a run-down building, its walls draped in graffiti and loneliness. "There's something you need to know." Her heart pounded. "About my dad?" He turned fully to her, the urgency in his gaze igniting something within her. "About everything. It's not what it seems. Your father is innocent, but those responsible for framing him have deep ties to my past." The implications of his words rolled over her like a wave, threatening to pull her under. Innocent? Could it be true? She had fought tooth and nail to protect his honor, but now, what did she really know? Clara didn't know if she should feel relief or dread. "But how do you know?" "Because I was there," Vincent said, his voice filled with raw honesty. "And I thought I could keep my past buried. But it keeps surfacing, and your father's life is at stake." They sat in silence, the weight of his confession hanging between them. She wanted to shatter the tension, to claw at the answers hidden behind this enigma before her. "What did you do?" His face fell, revealing the cracks in his facade. "I was part of something that became monster-sized. A war that's been brewing in the shadows, but I won't let your dad suffer because of me. I can help." Hope intertwined with disbelief as Clara processed Vincent's words. The idea of being dragged into his world both terrified and intrigued her. "What about us?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Vincent's eyes softened. "That's a risk we'll have to take together." Clara felt a flutter in her chest. There was danger, yes, but there was also a chance for more. More than the diner, more than her burdens, and more than the solitude of her responsibilities. Would love be enough to pull them through the storm? Just as she opened her mouth to ask him more, a loud crash echoed down the alley, and a voice shouted. Her heart dropped. It wasn't just any voice. It was the unmistakable growl of danger, and it had come for them. "Get down," Vincent urged, his instincts kicking in. Panic surged as Clara ducked, pulling her knees to her chest, fear rising within her. The shadows around them were closing in, and in that moment she realized the truth. They were already in this fight, whether they liked it or not. "Clara, we have to move," Vincent shouted over the chaos. She took a deep breath, determination flooding her veins. "Then let's go." But as they emerged from the car, the murmurs of the night held secrets yet to be uncovered, and Clara braced herself for a dangerous journey. Little did she know, the path ahead would test not just their resolve, but the very foundations of their hearts. Would love be enough to forge a way through the darkness, or would it shatter under the weight of betrayal? Vincent pulled Clara into the shadows behind the beat-up car, his body shielding her from the chaos erupting just outside. The shouts grew louder, and the rush of adrenaline filled her senses, drowning out everything else. She could feel his heart pounding against her, a rhythm of fear and urgency. "Stay low," he murmured, his breath warm against her ear. "We need to get to the back of the building." Clara nodded, her pulse racing as they moved, crouched low to the ground. The world around them felt surreal, each flickering streetlight creating a strobe effect of danger and fear. They ducked behind a pile of old crates, the scent of damp wood and dirt flooding her nostrils. "I can't believe this is happening," she whispered, her voice trembling. "I just wanted to know the truth about my father." Vincent pressed a finger to his lips, signaling her to be quiet. His expression was serious, yet Clara could see a flicker of determination in his eyes as he scanned the alley. It was as if he were calculating every possible escape route, each decision weighted with consequence. Then she heard them, a group of men, their voices punctuated by harsh laughter. "You think you can run? You think you can hide?" one of them taunted. They were closing in, and the danger felt palpable. "Vincent," she whispered urgently, "what do they want?" "You," he said, his tone grim, "and anyone else caught in this mess. They're not just after your father. They're coming for anyone connected to me." Panic flared in Clara's chest. "But I didn't choose this. I don't want this life." "Neither do I," Vincent replied, his voice low but fierce. "But we have to stand our ground. I won't let them take you." With a sudden movement, Vincent glanced back at the alley's entrance, making sure the coast was clear. "Let's head for that door," he said, pointing to a rusted metal exit at the side of the building. Clara's heart raced as they moved. She felt a spark of fear and thrill mixed together, the adrenaline pumping through her veins, making her feel alive. But the reality of their situation weighed heavily on her. Were they really ready to face what lay ahead? As they reached the door, Vincent took a moment, his hand hovering over the handle. "If we go in, there's no turning back," he said, searching her eyes. "I need to know you're with me." Clara inhaled deeply, her mind swirling with memories of her father's frail form in the hospital bed and the relentless bills stacking up on her kitchen counter. She wanted more than just to be a spectator in her own life. "I'm with you," she said, firmly, surprising herself with the conviction in her voice. "Let's do this." He nodded, that flicker of hope returning in his gaze. They pushed the door open, and the dim light spilling from the interior enveloped them as they stepped inside. The air was thick with tension. Clara fought the urge to pull away and run, but the bond they had formed felt stronger than the fear pressing down on her. And as they moved further into the darkened space, whispers of a world hidden from her began to tease her senses. "Once we're in, I'll explain everything," Vincent said, urgency lacing his tone. "Trust me." As they crept deeper into the building, Clara felt a strange sense of camaraderie growing. Each step felt like a leap into the unknown, and yet with Vincent beside her, it didn't seem insurmountable. But then came a sound that made her freeze, a sharp clinking, like keys falling to the floor, and the unmistakable echo of footsteps approaching. Her heart stopped. "Hide," Vincent hissed, as they dozed behind a makeshift barrier just in time. Clara held her breath, staring wide-eyed at Vincent, their fates hanging in the balance. Would they escape, or was this where it all would end? The footsteps grew louder. The tension was unbearable, and Clara realized something vital. Whatever the truth was, it was about to unravel right in front of them. Would she be strong enough to face it? And what secrets did Vincent truly hold? The footsteps grew closer, thumping against the concrete floor, a reminder that they were not alone. Clara clutched Vincent's arm, her nails digging into his skin, trying to steady her racing heartbeat. A hot wave of fear washed over her, blurring the edges of her vision. Vincent's expression was tense, his eyes narrowed as he peered around the barrier. "We need to plan our next move," he whispered, his breath barely audible. "If they find us here—" Clara's thoughts raced, twisting and turning in a whirlwind of fear and confusion. What if they were caught? What if they never got the chance to uncover the truth about her father? "What do we do?" she whispered, her voice trembling. "Just stay calm," he replied, his voice steady despite the chaos surrounding them. "We wait for the right moment." The footsteps stopped just beyond their hiding place, and Clara could feel the weight of the danger vibrating in the air. She leaned closer to Vincent, their faces inches apart. Despite the terror of the moment, she felt something shift within her, a strange sense of connection, as if the world had narrowed, leaving just the two of them, huddled together against the approaching storm. Through the wall, a muffled voice boomed. "Check the back rooms. I swear I heard them enter." The panic surged within Clara again. They had to act fast. Vincent glanced quickly at Clara. "On three, we make a run for it." "Run?" Clara's voice cracked. "But there are more of them." He nodded, urgency flashing in his eyes. "I know, but it's our only chance. Trust me." She took a deep breath, the air thick with dust and uncertainty, and nodded, swallowing her fear. 1, 2, 3. They burst from their hiding spot, racing toward a door at the far side of the room. Clara's legs felt like lead, her mind clouded with fear. But when she felt Vincent's hand grip hers, a spark of determination ignited. They dashed through the door just as the footsteps began moving in their direction. The hallway stretched out before them, dimly lit and eerie. Clara could hear the muffled voices of the men growing fainter behind them. "Where are we going?" she gasped, trying to keep pace with Vincent. "We need to find a way out. They'll be searching," he panted, urgency thick in his voice. Suddenly, Vincent stopped in front of another door, pressing his ear against it. After a moment, he pushed it open a crack. "Looks clear," he said, ushering Clara inside. The room was a storeroom filled with old boxes and the sharp scent of rust. Vincent closed the door behind them, trapping them. The walls felt like they were closing in, but it was the hint of familiarity in the clutter that oddly soothed Clara. "Explain everything," she demanded, her voice steadying with resolve. Vincent hesitated, his expression holding layers of tension. "I can't, not yet. Just know that there's a reason for all of this, and it connects to your father." Her heart sank as she registered his words. The truth was dangling just out of reach, and it felt like everything was spiraling further away. "What do you mean? Is he involved with them?" Vincent looked pained. "It's more complicated than that. But they're not just dangerous, they're ruthless. We need to stay one step ahead." Clara felt the weight of his revelation crashing down on her. A mixture of fear and determination coursed through her veins. "If you know something, you can't leave me in the dark. I deserve to know." The silence thickened, tension hanging in the air like a drawn bowstring. She saw the conflict on Vincent's face, as if he was wrestling with a hidden truth. Just then, the sound of footsteps echoed in the hallway again, louder this time, making Clara's heart race. "They're coming," she whispered urgently. "Follow me," Vincent said, determination flooding his features as he grabbed her hand and pulled her through a side door. They stumbled into a narrow staircase leading up. Clara glanced back one last time as the shadows formed into figures at the door they just fled. This was her chance to uncover everything about her father, and somehow she knew there was no way back. Would they reach safety, or would this be the moment that changed everything for her? The truth was like a shadow, lurking just beyond her grasp, tantalizingly out of reach, waiting to unveil itself at the most critical moment. Clara's breath quickened as she and Vincent raced up the narrow staircase, each footfall echoing against the cold, rusted steps. Shadows flickered across the walls, thrown by the dim light streaming from an overhead bulb that swung precariously. She could hear her heart thudding in her chest, drowning out the sound of their footsteps. Vincent suddenly pulled her to a stop at the top of the stairs. The door at the end of the hall was slightly ajar, light spilling out like a welcome beacon. "We need to be careful," he whispered, his face strained but resolute. "If they're searching for us, we can't let them catch a glimpse." Clara nodded. Taking a deep breath, she leaned closer to the door, trying to listen for any sounds. Abandoned feel from the room beyond, a hushed conversation perhaps? The last thing she wanted was to walk into another trap. "What do we do once we get through?" she asked quietly, glancing up at Vincent. The look in his eyes carried a weight she couldn't quite decipher. Uncertainty, worry, or something deeper. "We'll find a way to blend in and then figure out our move. Trust me," he replied, trying to keep the edge from his voice. The tension hung heavy in the air as Vincent pushed the door open just enough for them to slip inside. They entered what looked like an old office, dust-covered furniture scattered about, stacks of paperwork teetering on the edges of the desk. The room radiated a sense of abandonment, yet it felt charged with remnants of past conversations and hidden secrets. Clara moved instinctively to a window, peeking through its grimy glass. Down below, the street was bustling with cars and pedestrians, oblivious to the danger lurking just inside. Do you see anyone? Vincent stood close behind her, anxiety flickering in his voice. No, she whispered, still scanning. But what if we're too late? What if they're already on the way? Vincent placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. We need to focus on what we can control. If we can find a phone, maybe we can call for help. Clara felt a surge of determination. The pieces of her father's disappearance were beginning to form a picture, and she was desperate to put the final bits together. I can't keep running without answers, she said, turning to face him. Whatever your connection is with my father, we need to confront it. I want to know everything. Vincent's eyes softened for a moment, an emotion flickering across his face. It's not that simple. The closer we get to the truth, the more danger we're in. I've already put myself in danger by choosing to do this. You're not the only one I care about. It's my family, too, Clara insisted, her voice rising slightly. The fight inside her burned bright, amplifying the bond they had formed under this silent threat. Before Vincent could respond, a loud crash came from the hallway behind them, the unmistakable sound of a door being thrown open. Clara's blood ran cold. They're here, she gasped, panic flooding her senses. Vincent grabbed her hand again, their fingers intertwining, as they bolted across the room and ducked behind the desk, breathless and terrified. The door burst open, revealing two hulking figures, their silhouettes menacing against the light pouring in from the hallway. Split up, one of the men barked, and Clara felt her heart drop. They were about to be trapped. Vincent looked at her, and in that moment there was a silent understanding between them. Risk everything to uncover the truth, or possibly lose it all right here, right now. As the footsteps approached, Clara's mind raced with thoughts of her father and the possibility that she was mere moments away from uncovering something monumental. What secrets could unfold? What life-altering truths lay in wait? Get ready to move, Vincent hissed, his grip tightening. They were about to take a leap of faith into the unknown. Clara took a deep breath, feeling the fire of determination rise within her once again. But was she truly prepared for what lay ahead? As the shadows began to close in, she realized the answer was not just about uncovering the truth. It was about facing the reality of it all, the love, the danger, and the very real chance that everything could change in an instant. What would they uncover when they faced the hunters head-on? Would they find clarity or only further chaos? They crouched behind the desk, hearts pounding in their chests like war drums. The muffled sounds of the two men echoed in the room, their voices a low growl. Clara felt the warmth of Vincent's hand enveloping hers, a lifeline in the thickening tension that threatened to choke her. "Do you think they've come for us?" she breathed, blinking back the heat of rising panic. "Either us or the truth we're looking for," Vincent replied, his voice steadier than she felt. "Stay quiet and don't let them see you." The men moved further into the room, boots scuffing against the dusty floor. Clara strained to hear their conversation, willing her fraying courage to hold out. "They've got to be here somewhere," one of the men said. "If we find them, it's over for them. The boss won't let them slip away again." Clara's mind raced. The boss? Who was he? And what kind of trouble had they stumbled into? The pieces of the puzzle scattered through her mind were beginning to connect, but she had an acute sense that finding them would lead to more than just answers. As if sensing her thoughts, Vincent leaned slightly toward her. "If they're searching for us, it means there's something important they want us to stop," he said urgently. "We can't let them succeed. We have to find a way out." Just then, an object clattered to the floor, startling them. Clara's heart jumped into her throat as the men froze. Silence enveloped the room like a lead blanket. Vincent quickly pulled her deeper behind the desk, their faces just inches apart, their breaths mingling in the stillness. "Check behind the desk," ordered one man, and Clara's stomach plummeted. She could see his feet inching closer through a gap in the desk's leg. With barely a moment to think, Clara pressed herself against Vincent, wishing to disappear. This wasn't just about finding her father anymore. It was about survival. The first man barely made it 2 steps when the other shouted, "Wait, let's head to the other office first. I think I heard something there." A few breaths that felt like lifetimes passed before they left the room. Relief washed over Clara, and she leaned back against Vincent, their eyes locked in shared fear. "Now," he urged, pulling her to her feet. They kept low, moving cautiously toward the door. Clara held Vincent's gaze, feeling an unspoken bond form in those harrowing moments. They had faced their first real threat together, and it hadn't crushed them. Instead, new determination sparked within her. They ventured into the narrow hallway, adrenaline forcing her feet to move silently. Shadows danced along the walls, and Clara kept her ears tuned to any traces of danger. Out of the corner of her eye, she glimpsed something shiny glimmering in an open office just to the right. A phone, perhaps? It called to her like a siren, promising connection to help. "Vincent," Clara whispered, pointing. He nodded, a plan forming between them silently. They dashed inside the room and swiftly made their way to the desk, where the phone lay waiting. But as Clara reached out, she heard footsteps approaching their previous hideout. "Shit!" Vincent hissed, grabbing her shoulder. "We need to move, now!" They darted back into the hallway just as the door swung open, and a man's voice boomed, "They're not here! Search the building!" Clara felt time slow. Every moment felt like a heartbeat in her throat. Where to go next? The staircase behind them, or deeper into the maze of rooms? "Clara, we have to stick together," Vincent pleaded, his eyes searching hers. The urgency in his voice magnified the weight of their decision. As the footsteps grew louder and the commotion intensified, Clara was struck by a fierce clarity. "We go down," she shouted, pointing to the staircase leading further into the building. With no room for hesitation, they took off, hearts racing in a synchronized cadence. The uncertain depths beckoned like a dark promise, one that might either lead them to answers or into a trap. What would await them in the bowels of this building? And would they find the truth about her father before it was too late? They rushed down the staircase, the old wooden steps creaking ominously below them. Clara leaned forward, her heart racing, every echo magnified by fear. Vincent's grip on her wrist was firm and reassuring. It anchored her in the chaos they were running through. "Can you still hear them?" she whispered, glancing back over her shoulder. Each time they heard a shout or a crash, it felt like the walls of the old building were closing in on them. "No, but we can't stop," Vincent breathed, his brow furrowed with concentration. "We need to find an exit or a way to hide, somewhere they won't look." They reached the bottom of the stairs and emerged into a dimly lit corridor. Clara squinted, noticing the outline of half-open doors lining the hallway. Her instincts kicked in. "Vincent, we need to find something, some kind of information." He nodded, his eyes scanning the dusty surroundings. "Let's check one of these rooms. We can't leave here empty-handed." As they crept toward the first door, Clara felt a rush of determination. Whatever was happening, they had to expose it. She needed to find out what had happened to her father, and now it felt more imperative than ever if her life was on the line. Vincent pushed the door open slowly, and they slipped inside. The room was cluttered with papers, half-empty bottles, and a worn-out couch that looked like it hadn't been used in years. Faded photographs hung on the walls, remnants of happier times. A deep sense of sadness washed over her, a feeling that this space once held stories of people who had loved and lost, just like her and Vincent were fighting to do. "Look," Vincent called, kneeling beside a stack of boxes in the corner. "There might be something here." Clara moved closer as he rifled through the boxes. Crumpled papers, old receipts, and faded bills scattered at their feet. Then something shiny caught her eye, a glimmer of silver beneath a pile of junk. She reached down, pulling out an old pocket watch. Its glass was cracked, but it still gleamed with an undeniable beauty. Clara, that's not what we need right now, Vincent said, rolling his eyes but unable to suppress a smile at her find. I don't know, she replied, running her fingers over it. It feels significant, like a clue. But before Vincent could respond, footsteps echoed in the hallway outside, heavy and deliberate. Clara and Vincent exchanged panic-stricken glances. They're getting closer, she whispered, her heart pounding against her ribs like it was trying to escape. Hide, Vincent urged, pulling her behind an old wooden wardrobe just as the door swung open. Two men entered the room, their voices low but angry. They've got to be around here somewhere, one grunted, tossing papers into the air in frustration. They can't just vanish. Clara held her breath as she watched through the gap in the wardrobe. The men rifled through cabinets, their movements aggressive, their irritation palpable. She tightened her grip on the pocket watch, suddenly aware of the weight it held, a small piece of the past amidst this chaotic search. Clara felt Vincent's breath beside her, warm, firm. It made her feel safe, even in the face of danger. When the men finally left, Clara felt both relief and dread. What would they do next? They still had no clear path out or answers about her father. Let's get out of here, Vincent whispered urgently. We need to keep moving before they come back. As they tiptoed back into the corridor, Clara felt a pocket watch weighing heavily in her pocket. Could that be a connection to the truth about her father? Maybe it was a key to unlock everything she was searching for, or just a reminder of moments she wished to forget. How many secrets are hidden in this place? She wondered aloud, a mix of curiosity and fear churning within her. Vincent stopped, pulling her to a halt. There's something else too, Clara. If we don't figure this out soon, I'm not sure what will happen to us. With every step, the stakes grew higher. The building felt like a labyrinth, each dark corner hiding more than just shadows. What if they stumbled upon something they weren't prepared for? Or worse yet, what if they didn't get out in time? And as they took a deep breath, ready to move deeper into the labyrinth, Clara couldn't shake the feeling that whatever lay ahead would change everything. Could they really confront the truth, or was it waiting to trap them in its web of danger? They pressed onward, guided by instinct and the urgency of the moment. The air carried a musty scent, mingling with the faint echo of their pursuers still lingering in the back of their minds. Every step felt heavy with anticipation, as if the very floorboards beneath them were alive with secrets waiting to be uncovered. "Do you think they're gone for good?" Clara asked, her voice barely above a whisper as they moved cautiously down the corridor. Vincent shrugged, uncertainty etched on his face. "I can't be sure. We need to stay alert." They approached another door, this one slightly ajar. Heart racing, Clara reached for the knob, but Vincent put a hand on hers. "Let me," he said, giving her a nod of reassurance. He pushed the door open, and they stepped inside what appeared to be an office. A disheveled desk dominated the room, papers strewn across its surface, and the walls were lined with shelves stuffed with old, weathered books. Clara's gaze landed on a dark velvet curtain in the corner, inviting curiosity. Something about it felt like it concealed more than just a wall. "Let's split up. You check the desk, and I'll take a look behind that curtain," Vincent suggested, urgency coloring his words. Clara hesitated, but she could see determination in his eyes. "Okay, just be careful." As Vincent moved towards the curtain, Clara turned to the desk. She sifted through the stacks of papers, her fingertips trembling slightly. Notes, diagrams, and faded photographs met her gaze. One photo caught her eye, a picture of a group of men, all dressed sharply, except for one face, which made her gut twist with familiarity. "Vincent," she called, barely able to contain her emotion, "you need to see this." He turned quickly, the curtain still hanging partially in his grip. "What?" Clara held up the photo, her heart racing as she pointed. "Look, this guy, it's him, it's my father." His eyes widened in shock. "Are you sure?" "Positive, this is him." The revelation struck her like a thunderbolt. What was he doing with these people? This doesn't make sense. Vincent stepped closer, tension knots forming in his shoulders. Maybe it's tied to whatever's happening here. Before Clara could respond, the sound of heavy footsteps echoed from the hallway. Panic surged through her. "Vincent, we have to move now." They didn't need to be told twice. They darted toward the velvet curtain, and as Vincent pushed it aside, Clara's breath caught in her throat. Behind it was a secret passage, stairs spiraling downward into darkness. "Down there?" Clara's voice quivered. Vincent nodded. "It's our best shot. Let's go." They descended into the shadows, the air cool and damp as they made their way cautiously down the stairs, trusting their instincts more than their sense of direction. Each step made an eerie sound that seemed to chase them deeper into the unknown. When they reached the bottom, they were met with a narrow hallway illuminated by flickering lights. Clara's stomach twisted with uncertainty. "Do you think we'll find what we're looking for?" Vincent took a deep breath, scanning their surroundings. "We have to. If your father was involved, then he could be the key to understanding all of this." Just as they stepped further into the hallway, Clara noticed a door at the end, slightly ajar. "What if that's it?" she suggested, hope threading through her words. "Could be," Vincent said, his voice low and cautious, "but we have to be ready for anything." Clara hesitated at the entrance, feeling the familiar weight of the pocket watch in her pocket. It felt like a connection to her past, a reminder that hidden truths could lead to unexpected revelations. Gulping back fear, she pushed the door open wider, revealing a dimly lit room with old maps plastered across the walls and strange markings scattered across the floor. In the center stood a table, a massive pile of papers atop it. "Do you think this could tell us something?" Vincent asked, stepping inside. "Only one way to find out," Clara replied, moving closer. Just then, she spotted a glimmer among the papers. With a rush of adrenaline, she reached for it, uncovering a small engraved key. Questions flooded her mind. What did it unlock? What was its significance? But before she could voice it, a loud crash echoed behind them. Clara turned, panic flooding her veins. They weren't alone anymore. "Run!" Vincent shouted as footsteps approached. Clara grabbed the key tightly, heart pounding as they bolted out of the room, the sound of pursuit hot on their heels. Whatever awaited them, it was clear they had stumbled into something far deeper than they ever could have imagined. And with every step they took, the urge to uncover the truth became a desperate race against time. Would they survive to learn what lay at the end of this harrowing journey? The adrenaline coursed through Clara's veins as they burst out of the room and down the narrow hallway. Her heart raced, each beat echoing the urgency of their flight. She could hear footsteps pounding after them, heavy, relentless. The shadows closed in around them, and panic stung her every thought. "Keep running," Vincent urged, taking the lead as they raced around a corner. The flickering lights above them cast eerie shadows on the walls, but there was no time to pause or look back. They needed to find safety, fast. Clara's mind raced. What did the key open? What secrets were hidden just out of reach? She gripped it tightly in her fist, its cool metal a stark contrast to the warm sweat on her palm. It felt heavy, burdened with the weight of unanswered questions. They rounded another corner, skidding to a solid metal door. Clara glanced at Vincent, dread pooling in her stomach. "What now?" "Help me with this," Vincent said, his face tight with concentration. He looked around frantically for anything that might aid their escape. "We need to get through this door before they catch up." Together, they pushed against the cold surface, but it wouldn't budge. Clara couldn't shake the feeling that time was running out. The footsteps were getting closer, each thud like a warning bell in her mind. "Wait!" she exclaimed suddenly, inspiration hitting her. "The key! Maybe it's for this door." Vincent paused, eyes wide with realization. "Try it." With trembling fingers, Clara inserted the key into the lock. It slid in easily, and she turned it with bated breath. There was a satisfying click, and the door creaked open, revealing more darkness beyond. "Go," Vincent urged, shoving her inside as he looked back just in time to see shadows rushing towards them. They stumbled through the doorway and bolted it shut just as their pursuers reached the other side. Clara felt her heart drop as the sound of pounding fists echoed against the door, but they had bought themselves a moment of safety. "Is this a dead end?" Clara asked, scanning the dimly lit room they had entered. It was a small storage area, cluttered with old furniture and boxes stacked against the walls. Dust filled the air, making it hard to breathe, but they had no choice. "No," Vincent replied, staring at a window high up on the wall. "We can climb up there." Clara followed his gaze and felt a flicker of hope. "Okay, let's do it." They scrambled over the boxes, their breaths coming in quick gasps. Clara could feel the fear radiating off Vincent as he gave her a boost, and together they managed to create a shaky ladder of sorts, climbing higher and higher. As Clara reached the window, she pushed it open, wincing at the creaking sound that echoed through the room. The night air rushed in, cold against her flushed skin. She hesitated, looking back at Vincent, who was still climbing up. "Let's go," he urged, desperation in his voice. Clara squeezed through the opening and landed hard on the ground outside. She stumbled, but quickly regained her footing, glancing around to assess their surroundings. They were in a dark alley, the moonlight barely reaching through the narrow gaps between the buildings. "Where do we go?" she panted, anxiety creeping in as she heard their pursuers shouting from inside. "Follow me." Vincent was already running, and Clara darted after him, the sound of their pursuers echoing behind them like a looming shadow. They turned a corner, and Clara could feel victory tantalizingly close, yet the dread in her stomach remained. Were they too late? Would they finally uncover what lay behind her father's past, or were they spiraling into further danger? "Please let this be worth it," she whispered under her breath, glancing at the key once more. And then, as came to an intersection, the ground trembled beneath them, and the echoing shout of a voice pierced the night air. "Stop!" Clara froze, heart racing, as an unexpected figure emerged from the shadows, blocking their path. A flash of light illuminated their face, revealing an unfamiliar but commanding presence. "Who are you?" the stranger demanded, eyes narrowing with curiosity and intensity. In that moment, everything hung in the balance. Clara's past, her father's secrets, and the fate of their escape were all intertwined. Would answers finally come to light, or would they be swept back into the darkness? The stranger stepped forward, and Clara felt an unsettling feeling rise within her. The stranger took a step closer, the moonlight revealing sharp features and an air of authority. "I'm not here to hurt you," he stated, his voice steady yet laced with urgency. "I'm here to help you, but you have to trust me." Clara felt a flicker of hope amid the confusion, but Vincent's posture tightened beside her. "What do you know about us?" he demanded, voice low and cautious. "Everything," the man replied, a hint of sincerity sparking in his eyes. "You're involved in something much bigger than yourselves. Your father is in grave danger, and so are both of you." Clara's breath caught in her throat. "What do you mean?" she pressed, desperately searching for assurance in his gaze. "Where is he?" The stranger glanced over his shoulder, clearly aware of the imminent threat lurking behind them. "If you want to find your father, you need to act quickly. Follow me." She hesitated just a moment longer, uncertainty gnawing at her. But the urgency in Vincent's eyes ignited her resolve. "Let's go," she said firmly. They followed the stranger into the night, weaving through tight alleyways until they reached an inconspicuous door tucked away between two buildings. They slipped inside, the door shutting with a clang behind them, sealing out the chaos they'd just escaped. The room felt warm, but it was also cluttered with boxes and old furniture, almost like a safe haven amidst their chaos. A table spread with maps dominated the center, and several people turned to face them, their expressions a mix of intrigue and power. "Welcome," the stranger said, gesturing for Clara and Vincent to sit. "You're joining an alliance. We're working to take down the organization that's targeting your family and others." Clara's heart raced as she settled into a chair, absorbing the reality of their situation. "But why us? Why now?" "Because," he replied, "what you're holding is crucial. He nodded toward the pocket watch in Clara's trembling hands. Your father had ties to this group long before you knew. The watch belonged to him. It's a key to uncovering everything. With shaking hands, Clara opened the watch's cover, revealing an inscription etched inside. Family is strength. Tears pooled in her eyes as she realized this watch was more than a timepiece. It was a message, a connection to her father's past and the love that had guided him through dark times. Your father was trying to escape this life, the stranger continued, but it's more complicated than that. They need him, and they'll stop at nothing to keep their secrets buried. A renewed fire ignited within Clara. She could no longer stand by idly, worrying about her father. What do we need to do? She asked, determination coloring her voice. Help us gather intelligence, infiltrate their ranks. Vincent can help lead the way. He knows their operations better than anyone. But first, we need to stay off their radar, the stranger explained. Vincent looked to Clara, his expression filled with apprehension, but also with an undeniable spark of resolve. We can't let them take your father, or anyone else, he vowed. Clara nodded, feeling the warmth of his hand against hers, a grounding presence that made her feel capable of confronting whatever lay ahead. In that moment, something shifted. They weren't just a waitress and a mafia boss caught in a whirlwind of unexpected emotions. They were allies, partners in a fight against a dark world that threatened to consume them. As discussions unfolded in the room, plans forming like a tapestry of destiny, Clara recognized the truth. She was not just fighting for her father's life, she was fighting for her own. The burdens of the past were transforming into the strength needed to face the future. They gathered intelligence, united by purpose. Clara and Vincent dove headfirst into the fray, their relationship blossoming amid uncertainty. Together, they learned to navigate the danger, the love between them deepening with every challenge they faced. As weeks passed, they grew stronger, fueled by a fierce determination and the bonds of loyalty they forged. The city, once a canvas of shadows, became a playground of hopes and dreams, each moment reminiscent of the laughter shared in the diner that now felt like a distant memory. Finally, the fateful night arrived. It was time to confront the looming darkness head-on. With Clara holding the pocket watch, her father's legacy, their guide, they squared their shoulders, ready to face whatever lay ahead. As they stepped back into the night, hand in hand, Clara felt the thrill of the fight. "We've come too far to back down now," she declared, a radiant smile spreading across her face. "Let's show them what we've got." Vincent grinned, that fire in his eyes reflecting the love they had nurtured in the chaos. "Together, we can break the chains," he promised. And in that moment, Clara knew they had become a force stronger than the shadows threatening to consume their lives. They were ready to fight for each other, for the love that had illuminated their uncertain path. As dawn broke over the horizon, illuminating the city with the glow of new beginnings, they stepped into the light, prepared to embrace their fate. Together, they would uncover the truth and forge a future built on trust, love, and the unbreakable bond of family. This was only the beginning. Don't let this moment slip away. You need to subscribe now to catch the next chapter of their incredible journey. Leave a like right now to feed the algorithm and help others find this inspiring story. Comment below to share your reactions and feelings about this transformative ending. And don't wait, not even one more second, to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this epic tale of love and courage. Your support means everything.